Is it the end of June already? Hey guys, so it is the end of June and it is time for my June wrap-up. So I have read 8 books in June, which actually isn't that bad, as I went away with some friends last week and didn't do any reading at all. It's also why I didn't post a video, because I'm an idiot who forgets to pre-film one and post it while I'm away. But enough about my idiocy, let's get onto the wrap-up. So the first book that I read in the month of June was Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children by Ransom Riggs. I don't actually have a physical copy as I lent it from a friend, but I really enjoyed that book, and I know a lot of people found that the photos were a gimmick and didn't really appreciate that, but I actually really enjoyed it, and I like the idea that the writer actually took the photos beforehand and built the story around the photos. I thought it was the other way around, and I look forward to the sequel, which comes out in January 2014. In the end, I gave Miss Peregrine and Her Bunch of Peculiar Kids 4 stars on Goodreads, so I really enjoyed that one. Next I read The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. Now I really enjoyed this book, and I mentioned it in another video, so I'm not going to go on too much about it other than to say that I gave it 5 stars and I highly recommend it. Next I read The Daughter of Smoke and Bone by Laini Taylor. A lot of my friends on Goodreads gave this 4 out of 5 stars, and my silence says everything you need to know. Well, this wasn't a terrible book. I thought it started off really well. There was a different setting, it was in Prague, it was written quite well, but the middle really dragged for me. I found it strange that in a lot of the reviews I read, they praised the writing of the love story and said that it was very realistic and very well done, and that was what I hated about this book. The romance was full of insta-love, and I just couldn't get past that. The twist at the end kind of redeemed it a little bit, but it was still a little too late for me. Hated the romance in this. It was really hard to get through. In the end, I ended up giving it 3 stars, but then after a while I put it down to 2, and I don't think I'm going to read the sequel. The next book I read in the month of June was Nefertiti by Michelle Moran. I don't really have much to say about this. I actually got about 200 pages in, and I stopped reading it. It wasn't that it was necessarily bad. It felt like a kind of chick lady book set in a different time period, so I didn't actually give this a rating on Goodreads. I just added it to my possibly read again shelf, and I should probably get to it again sometime in the future. Another book I don't have with me because I'm lending it to a friend is Across the Universe by Beth Revitt. I read it originally because I wanted to read more sci-fi, and when I started to read it, I just found out that it was more of a dystopia that just seemed to take place on a spaceship. And inside the spaceship was actually very much like our world. It didn't generally feel like it was a sci-fi. I know you had frozen people and different races and stuff, but there were no aliens, and there was very little sci-fi elements for me, I think. But I did enjoy it, and I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I look forward to the sequel, but I want them in hardcover, and we don't actually get them in hardcover over here, and if you Google the UK covers, they're really not very nice. Next I read The Knife of Never Letting Go by Patrick Ness, and I was torn between this book. Part of me really liked it, and the other felt it went on a bit long, and I hated that one particular death at around page 380. If you've read this, you know which one I'm talking about. And I felt like after that happened, the book lost a lot of humour for me. It actually took me the same amount of time to read the last 100 pages as it took me to read the first 400. So I think that shows how much that one particular character meant to the story for me. I also felt that the character who dies was going to come back somehow. I don't know if that actually happens in another book, does it? Do I need to carry on reading? I don't know. If it doesn't, I probably won't. In the end, I gave this 3 out of 5 stars on Goodreads because I did like it, but it didn't blow me away. The last book that I read in June was The Scorch Trials by James Dashner, and this is the second in the Maze Runner series. I liked the first Maze Runner, where it was very plot-orientated, and I liked that it kind of didn't tell you everything, and it left doors open for the sequel. So you can imagine my surprise when I get to the sequel, and I really didn't like it. I think the mystery of the maze was a much more interesting angle to take, and in this one it just felt like they were going from one particular place to another without any real direction, and the story didn't flow for me. I didn't actually finish it. I got to about page 250 and I just kind of gave up. Maybe another one for my possibly read again list, but at the moment I will definitely be putting this series on the back burner. So that is all the books that I read in the month of June. I was actually going to do a TBR list for the month of July, but I made one last month and I only stuck to about 2 books. But look at the books that I'd put on my TBR list and I just kind of go, oh, Not in the mood for that. Oh, that's too big. Oh, but I want to read that. So I'm actually not going to make a TBR list for the month of July. Books that I will definitely be reading though, because I'm reading at the moment, are Edith Wharton's The Custom of the Country, which is a classic, and what else am I reading? Oh, World War Z by... lost it. World War Z. I will also be reading that book. So that is my wrap up. I will see you soon with another video, and until then, it is goodbye. Goodbye!